Welcome back to the Shine and Thrive Photography Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Monica, and today we're going to hang out and talk about how to figure out your dream hourly rate as a photographer and actually make it happen for yourself. So, pretty much, I want to hang out with you and help you help you custom design your dream work-life harmony right now during this episode. And I'm going to show you what it takes to make it happen for yourself. But first, we need to start by asking quality questions. I almost did my weird frog noise there because I just ate dinner and I almost went, I don't know about any of you, but when you have some gas in your esophagus, I can't burp, but I make this weird frog noise. It's like, literally, if you do that, please DM me on Instagram and let me know because no one else I know does it. And I feel like such a rando with having this condition. I call it the frog noise. Anyway, okay. Back to the episode, off the tangent. So we need to start first by asking quality questions. So these are some questions for you that I want you to listen to and then answer in your head. So number one, what is your dream annual revenue in your business? Do you know? Do you know the answers to that? Does it pop into your head? Have you even thought about it? Also, what is your dream lifestyle? So, how many hours a week do you want to work? How many hours a week do you want free to do what you want when you want? And this is, for example, spending quality time with family and friends, pursuing other passions and hobbies, traveling, taking care of your wellness, spending more time in nature, etc. Those are the things that come to me because those are the things that are important to me. So, yeah, what is your dream lifestyle? What do you want to have more time for? And I ask you these questions because it's so important for you to know where you're going so that you can take aligned action that will help you get there. For example, this is a great metaphor. You don't go to the airport without knowing your destination, right? You prepare for your arrival accordingly with packing what you need, buying the right tickets, renting your accommodation ahead of time to make your dream trip a reality. It doesn't just poof come together out of nowhere. You have a goal and you take actions towards that goal. So for this exercise I'm about to show you, you can either dream big, and I'll be sharing with you my big ass dream revenue goal and lifestyle goal later in this episode, along with my dream hourly rate as well. So just keep listening. I'll share that with you. Or you can dream a little smaller and dream more about the next step you want to get to in about a year or two with your dream hourly rate, right? So you can choose a goal of a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, anything like that. But for now, let's stick with this example I'm about to give you first, and then you can always pause this episode later to pick your own numbers and then do your own calculations. And also, it's very simple math, I promise. So it won't feel overwhelming. All right. So first, you need to pick the amount of revenue you want to make in your business annually. And I want you to keep in mind that usually 1/3 of your annual revenue. So revenue is, for example, if for those that are just kind of starting off in business, I know these revenue and income, what's the difference? So a quick down low on that. So revenue is, let's say someone pays you their full invoice for their wedding photography. In there includes your services, and on top of that includes your tax, right? So they pay you the full invoice with the tax included. That is revenue. Then from that revenue, you bring it into your business account in your bank. And from there, you have expenses that you need to pay for running your business. Then later on, you need to pay taxes out of that. And then whatever you get to keep for yourself outside of expenses and taxes, that is your take home income. That is what you get to keep. Okay. So that's the distinction. It's very important because I'm going to be talking a lot about revenue and income throughout the rest of this episode. So now that you know that, let me jump back in. So first you need to pick the amount of revenue you want to make in your business annually. And with this number, keep in mind that usually 1/3 goes to taxes, 1/3 goes to expenses, and 1/3 you keep. And this is not always the case. It's not perfect math. It's not like this is how it always is for every business owner. It's just a really good ratio to assume based on my past 11 years experience here. So most photographers I chat with, they seem to want to reach about $100,000 in revenue a year as their next income goal. So I'm just going to use this number for this example. So now let's pick the amount of hours you want to work a week. So let's just use the regular old 40 hours a week, a regular work week, and let's just assume you want 2 weeks of vacation time in a year. So that would be 2080 working hours a year. So 2080 working hours per year. Are you still following me? I know some people with numbers, they need visuals and others are okay with just hearing them. So just like feel free to like also rewind past 30 seconds just to hear that again if you need to. But this is so worth listening to because episode is going to be a freaking game changer in your life and business. So just stay with me. Okay. So we have our two numbers. We have $100,000 in revenue in a year as an income, as a goal, right? And then we want to work 2,080 hours a year, which would give us regular 40-hour work weeks. So now that we have those two numbers, what we do is we divide how much we want to make by the amount of hours we want to work. So $100,000 in revenue divided by 2080 working hours in a year is $48 per hour. So this number, $48, is your dream hourly rate from the numbers I just shared. And just to paint you a clearer picture, after taxes and expenses, this is just an estimation, you'll probably keep around $40,000 to $50,000 of that as your actual take-home income. So again, to summarize, $48 per hour is the hourly rate you need to have in order to work 40-hour weeks and make $100,000 in revenue in your business in a year. So many photographers think that their hourly rate is what they charge clients for a session or a wedding. So for example, if you're shooting a wedding day for 8 hours and you charge about $3,500, your hourly rate under that kind of math equals about $438. Or if you shoot a 1 hour session for $450 for a family session, engagement session, portrait session, branding session, whatever, and it's 1 hour and you charge $450, you think that's your hourly rate, right? And yes, that might be the hourly rate you charge your clients, but how much per hour are you actually making when you take into account all the additional hours you spend in your business on everything else? Do you know that number? So you see what I really, really want you to understand. And if you're distracted, come back to me. If you're editing, come back to me. This is big. What I really want you to understand is you're actually making much less than that amount per hour in your business because you are spending all of your time outside of shooting on other tasks such as customer support, marketing, website building, editing, culling, album design, blogging, graphic design. Oh my gosh, all the things, right? So the time you are spending working on or in your business counts towards your hourly rate. So you punch in and out just like in a regular job, but with yourself, right? So here, let me show you what I mean. So let's take a wedding photographer, for example, that shoots 20 weddings a year and charges on average $3,500 for a wedding. And I'm taking this number from what an average photographer charges here in Ontario, Canada. And from what I hear many photographers like wanting to cap their wedding bookings at, usually photographers are like, I don't want to take more than 20 weddings per year. That's my cap, because then I just really can't handle all the editing and all of that stuff, right? And $3,500, I just remember I used to charge that right when I started uh there was like more demand for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like more than 20 weddings a year, like okay, now I have so much more demand coming my way, so I can start charging more. But $3,500, I felt like it was like it's the average, and that's Canadian dollars, and it could be anywhere from 35 to 4,000. So don't take this at like, what's that phrase, point blank value or whatever. This isn't a fact. These are just numbers, example numbers. Okay, so let's say 20 weddings a year times $3,500 per wedding. For that photographer, that means that they would be bringing in $70,000 in revenue. So let's assume that this photographer works on average 60 hours a week. And if you're wondering why 60 hours a week, so I got this number because let's be real, in the busy season, it's so easy to work 80-hour weeks. And then in off season, we are updating the back end of our businesses. So I've pulled this number as an average realistic year-round number based on my past experience personally and working this much, and also what I hear from other photographers. So it just averages out. Okay. So now let's say $70,000 in revenue that this photographer makes from those 20 weddings, right? Let's divide that by 3,120. So 3,120 working hours per week, or sorry, per year. And I got that from the 60 hours per week working, right? That gives them $22 an hour that they make. But this is a big but, and it cannot lie. Remember, this is your hourly rate that you are taking in as revenue in your business. So, not as your take home income. So, let's assume that the $3,500 is exactly what this photographer is getting from their invoices with tax included, expenses included, everything, right? I know it's never an even number, but just to make the math simple, right? So, if we're dividing $70,000 in revenue of what they are making by 60-hour work weeks, which is 3,120 hours per year worked, he's making $22 an hour in revenue. And remember, revenue is different than income, right? So the 22 hours, sorry, the 22, I'm totally fucking myself up here with these numbers too. So I really hope I'm not confusing you. So the $22 an hour, it's not the person's take home income. It's actually only part of it that they get to keep. So just for shits and giggles, even though it's not actually funny what I'm about to share with you, let's say from the $70,000 in revenue that person makes in a year, $35,000 is what they get to keep as their income after expenses and taxes, right? So now let's divide $35,000 in revenue a year by 3,120 working hours per year, which is, again, how much time is actually spent working, right? That person is actually making $11 per hour take home income, and that's less than minimum wage. So just to bring it all together without doing the math and saying all the numbers, all you need to know is that the hourly rate they were bringing in as revenue was $22 an hour. But then after they had to pay expenses and taxes, they're actually making about $11 per hour. Crazy, right? And let me ask you this. Would you work for someone else right now that was paying you less than minimum wage? I don't think so. No way, Jose. So, spoiler alert, that's what you're paying yourself right now if you're making around that much revenue in a year that I just mentioned, and if you work around that many hours in a year that I just mentioned. And let me totally openly share with you. I mean, I had this experience about 7 years ago myself. That was my number. And when I had this realization myself about 7 years ago, I was shocked. And quickly, I made those changes to get myself out of this never ending cycle I was on of being an overworked and underpaid photographer. So, if this is where you are right now, first of all, give yourself love, compassion, grace. I don't want this episode isn't meant to stress you out or make you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be, or oh no, like I need to be better, or I need to do better. No, none of that bullshit. This episode is meant to inspire you and get you excited for the future and what's possible. Okay. So right now, you are exactly where you are meant to be on this business owner journey. And you will figure it out, just like you figured out using your camera on manual when, it felt daunting or scary. I personally remember how terrified I was to learn a camera on manual. I didn't touch it for a whole year, when my parents bought it for me for my 16th birthday. So yeah, all you have to do is make a commitment to yourself that you will make a change through doing things a little differently and being open to seeing things in a different way. Because what got you here to where you are now in your business is great, but it won't get you there. And this is James Wedmore's quote. I love it. It has stuck in my head so much because it's just a fact. Like the actions that you took to get you to where you are in your business got you here. But for you to get to a new level, for you to achieve new goals, you have to take different actions. You have to implement new knowledge that you learn in order to get to a new place. So, how, right? You're probably wondering right now, okay, how do I go from where I am to where I want to go? Do I just raise my prices? Is that all I have to do? Well, technically, yes, but the only way to raise your prices is if you can actually elevate the experience you create and elevate the way you market yourself. But with everything you have going on right now, wearing all the hats in your business, having that nonstop, never ending to do list, how is that even possible? Where can you find the time? And more importantly, are you going to sacrifice even more time to work on your business instead of spending it with family and friends or on your well being or experiences in your life? So, most photographers choose to settle for being overworked during busy season and then have regular working hours in off season. But what I really want you to know and understand and see the possibility around is that you don't have to settle. You don't. You can experience a harmonious life all freaking year round. Just take a look at my Instagram, everything that I share. I work part-time hours this year. I have part-time maternity leave that I gave to myself. And I'm making a full-time income. Like it's so possible for you because I intentionally designed it, and so can you. And also, if you listened to last week's episode 115, where one of my OMI students, Rachel, who is a mom of two, was able to work less hard in her photography business and make more money all in just 10 freaking months. I mean, she is living proof that what I'm about to share with you works. So here is the solution you have been waiting for. It's called this: elevate your role in your business. The only way for you to get to that $100,000 in annual revenue, that dream goal that the number that we made up before, while working fewer hours, is to outsource tasks in your business that someone else can do for you for less than your dream hourly rate. Does that make sense? Does that click? So, you know how the original dream hourly rate example was $48 an hour for a photographer to work 40-hour weeks and make $100,000 in revenue? So let's pretend that this is your current dream you want to get to. Okay. This is what you want. So this means that if you keep working on all the tasks in your business yourself, that you can pay someone else either $10, $20, or even $30 an hour to do, then you will never get to your dream income and lifestyle goal. I'm going to say that again because it's a little bit different. It's a very different perspective. I know that I needed that perspective shift, and I kind of didn't connect the dots for some time before I started outsourcing too. So if you keep working on all the tasks in your business yourself, that you can actually pay someone else either 10, 20, or $30 an hour to do, then you will never get to your dream income and lifestyle goal. And this is because you will stay spinning round and around in circles and hitting your head on the glass ceiling that you have created for yourself. Since, after all, you are your own boss, and it's your responsibility to take action in a way that will create the income and life you desire as a business owner. It's no one else's responsibility. It is yours. You are in the driver's seat. You actually have full control if you choose to see it that way. And so I hope that this really shifts that perspective for you. So yeah, if you want to make $48 an hour, if you can pay your editor $20 an hour or someone to call for you for $15 an hour, like that is how you get to that goal. So as I promised you, now I will share with you my actual numbers to expand your way of thinking about this. So my current big dream. So first I'm going to share with you my big ass dream, like my whoa, holy shit, big dream that scares the crap out of me. And then I'll actually share with you exactly where I am right now, my actual numbers. So my current big dream is to have my business make $1 million per year while I work part-time hours so I can have more time freedom in my life to spend with my family, friends, adventuring around the world, and my wellness. So that would be $1 million, right, divided by 1,040 working hours a year. So that's so 1040 is part-time hours working throughout the year. So that means that my big ass dream hourly rate is $962 per hour. So, in order for me to get there, I need to let go of tasks that don't light me up or are not in my zone of genius that only I can do, which for me, I keep the ones that I keep are shooting, podcasting, and teaching in my online courses, because all of those things are in my zone of genius and they light me up the most and they generate the most revenue for me at the same time. So, as long as I'm consistently staying in my zone of genius, day after day, week after week, year after year, and investing in my business where I'm hiring someone else to do things for me that are no longer in my role for less than my dream hourly rate, then I will get there. And of course, it takes more than just that because, I have to learn how to do things differently at every new scary level of my business. I have to apply the things that I learn. I have to invest in my business. And while also moving through freaking fears and limiting beliefs. But the thing is that outsourcing and delegating gives me that time back, which I can invest more intentionally into having more growth opportunities. And at the same time, while I'm growing and building my business, it doesn't have to be this stressful thing. I can have more fun in my business and in my life, and while making my dream income at the same time. And oh my gosh, I'm so proud to share with you guys that I've been here for so long, but I feel like last year I hit that more than this year I feel like I hit that goal more than anything. But just to stay on track here, of course this is my big ass dream goal. And one thing I do want to mention is it doesn't mean that it has to be yours, right? Not everyone has or needs or wants $1 million business, right? We all have different whys. So make sure to create your own goal around your own why. And it's so important to note that success looks and feels different to every single person. I personally grew up with my family and I living paycheck to paycheck, and there was always so much freaking stress around money, and fights, and it was just even there were moments where it was a toxic environment. I mean, I have such fond memories around my childhood, my parents, how we played together, how we bonded, how we spent time together. I thought we were the Three Musketeers, but anytime anything had to do with money, stress, negativity, fighting. And I'm like, I do not want that. And we also couldn't go on family vacations because we were living to paycheck. We couldn't afford it. And so I decided I wanted to give my future family a life where we didn't have to stress about that and we can have an abundance of life experiences. And on top of that, I also want to make sure I have a way to give back to the world to causes I'm passionate about that I can help the world be a better place. And remember that you don't have to give back through money. That's just personally how I want to choose to do it. You can give back in so many different ways, right? Personally, like volunteering, going to places in person, all these things. But I want to give back in a way where it's like my teaching through my podcast, my online courses gives back to the world and the photography community by improving their quality of life and quality of business. And I get paid for that. And then at the same time, through that money, I'm able to then give back in other ways in the world through money, maybe something that I'm passionate about, but I have no idea where to start or how to have a deep impact. So I'm choosing to have a deep impact with my work with my photography education, my wedding photography, and then on top of that, have a deep impact with the money I'm able to share and give. So that is personally my why, right? So I want you to figure out yours. And that is my current goal, which could be my 3 to 4 year goal from now with where I am. But the thing about it is I'm not in a rush currently, and I'm happy if it's gradual. I'm really just being so present with being a new mom and family time this year. So it's on in the back of my mind, but I'm not stressed about it. Right. And this is how I feel today when I'm recording this podcast. And that's what feels good to me. And today is, what is it? August 23rd, 2022, just to put a timestamp on it. All right. So now, as promised, where I am now. So let me share with you where I am now actually, because like I mentioned before, I was once paying myself $11 an hour until I began to outsource, and then everything changed for me. So last year in 2021, I had my best year in business ever. And I'm talking about financially, like revenue wise. And I'm sharing this to break the stigma around sharing how much money we make with each other, because there's totally a stigma. There's this weird shyness, or like, no, it's a very private topic. And if you don't feel comfortable around sharing that information with people, I totally respect that. But I personally want to break the stigma around maybe other people judging others that are sharing that information, if you know what I mean. Like, if in your soul and your gut, you're like, I don't feel the need to share that with anyone, that's cool. I personally, in my gut, feel the need, because I am just have this like drive within me to share with people what's possible in their life and business, with how much they can make, how they can impact the world with that money, how they can impact their family with that money, because we all deserve abundance. And yeah, so that's just like what I believe. And yeah, and I believe that if we're open about this, it will lead to more people realizing what's possible for them with how much money they can make, and also how. So back to last year. So in 2021, I brought in about $300,000 in revenue from wedding photography, and that was 24 weddings, and my online courses for photographers. And last year, I would say I worked about full-time hours, and that's because I had a full wedding season. I was podcasting and also building two other courses in the back end, which that is a lot of freaking work, but once they're done, they're done. And while also supporting my students in my courses. So that was full-time hours. So if you take $300,000 in revenue that I made in 2021 and divide that by full-time hours, which is 2080 in a year, my hourly rate last year was $144 an hour. And this is my revenue hourly rate per year. So out of the $144 per hour, I still had to pay out expenses and taxes. And then what I had left with was my take home. And on average, I would say maybe, I mean, as your income grows, like I find for me, as my income grows, my expenses are less of a ratio, less of a chunk. The taxes increase a bit, right? But like the expenses are like just kind of still a bit more fixed. So, and it depends, because with wedding photography, your non-fixed expenses, variable expenses, will shift a lot. If like every wedding gets an album, or you need to buy a new like box for them and everything. So it shifts more with weddings, but with a digital course business, the expenses don't really change that much, because you need to have like the basics and then you're done. It doesn't change with how many students you get in your online course. So I was actually able to keep maybe 50 to 55% of that as my take home income, which is incredible. So that's why I had like such an amazing year last year. And to share with you where I am this year, because this one is like, this is what I mean, where I'm like, I have freaking made it in my mind of exactly where I want it to be when I became a first-time mom, where I wanted my business to be at, where I wanted my life to be at. So this year I'm projected to make about the same amount as last year, so about $300,000, but working part-time hours instead of full-time, part-time. And this is while giving myself part-time maternity leave that I was able to give myself through committing to working smarter instead of harder, thanks to outsourcing. So this year I'm focusing on pretty much shooting 32 weddings, podcasting, and supporting my online course students. And that's what's making up those part-time hours. So, oh, and marketing myself here and there as well. So my projected income or annual revenue this year is 300,000 divided by part-time hours, which is 1040 a year, means that $288 is my hourly rate this year. And that's it's in revenue, not in take home income, right? 288. So see how much that elevated? So this means that every single time I sit down at my computer to do something with the smart workflows that I have in place in my business, I'm making $288 per hour in revenue. So on average, this is a guesstimation. That's about $150 per hour. That's take home income. So right now, as I'm recording this podcast, I don't know how long I'm talking for so far, but I'm gonna be making right now $150 by recording this episode. Take home, not revenue, take home. So yeah, I'd say that I've come a long way from making $11 per hour. in 7 years. And I know that seems like a while, but I mean, from the first year that I decided to outsource, and I share this in more depth in a future masterclass coming up, I'll be sharing that with you on the podcast of how you can sign up to learn even more in depth about all my numbers, how much everything costs me, all of that. But the very first year I decided to outsource, I actually doubled my income. So it seems like, oh, you went from $11 an hour to $150 an hour in 7 years. It seems like a longer time, but actually it was a quick initial jump. And then over the years, it was that like steady climb, which you will see in the masterclass if you register for it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that. But I share this to paint you a picture of how everything all works together, and to show you that I was once there too. But I made a conscious effort to design my work and life harmony intentionally. And if I was able to do this, you can too. I'm so passionate about sharing this with you. Okay, so here is your invitation. As I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you kind of know your number. You do this little exercise for yourself. So before we get there, firstly, if this episode blew your mind and gave you so much more clarity on what action you need to take to make your own dream income and lifestyle a reality, please screenshot this episode right now and share it to your IG story, or text it to a photographer friend, or do both. Both is amazing. And I know this will help so many underpaid and overworked photographers out there have a more harmonious life. And that will lead to a positive ripple effect into their health, well-being, relationships, zest for life, so many things. So you sharing this can actually create a very meaningful impact and ripple effect throughout our industry and actual humans. Like, these are people with families, with kids, with parents, with, oh my gosh, like it will create the most positive ripple effect into the lives of people and not just photographers, right? So please take a moment, pause this episode right now and quickly share, and then come right back here and keep hanging out with me. So pause. Okay, so now that you've shared, and thank you so freaking much for that. I'm so grateful. It's your turn to pick your numbers. Yay, how exciting. So time to do the exercise for yourself. So remember, choose your dream annual revenue goal. And this could be big or small. It could be next year's goal or 3 years from now. But I do want to say, get uncomfortable with it, because if it's not uncomfortable, if it's comfortable, it's not big enough. And I do this for myself all the time. I mean, if I'm like, oh yeah, this number feels, I could do it, doable. I'm like, no, add add a little bit more to that. Get a little uncomfortable. And the whole point isn't to put pressure or stress on yourself. It's to like shoot for the stars, land on the moon, or shoot for the stars. And if you land on the stars, that's amazing, right? So yeah, do that. Have fun with it. Because manifestation and law of attraction is very powerful. I won't even get started on the check I wrote myself last year on my course sales of how much I wanted to make just through courses, and how I pretty much hit that. And I was just missing it by $20,000. I think I wrote a check of $150,000. Yeah, this is what I did. I wrote myself a check, $150,000, and it said to Sarah Monica in online course sales. And I made $130,000 in course sales last year. So yeah, I mean, I was shocked. When I wrote that, I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea how I'm going to make that much money through online courses. I've never done it before. I have no idea. And I feel like I did it. I feel like I did it. So yeah, have fun with it. Put that number down. So then once you have that number of your dream annual revenue goal, then choose the amount of hours you'd like to work each week. And this is ideal. Don't play it safe. Like, your time and your life is so valuable, like it's fleeting. So please, if you want to work part-time hours, write that down. If you want to work 30-hour weeks, write that down. Don't think of the how right now. Don't think, how am I going to get there? Is that even possible? No, 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 no. Your responsibility right now is the what and the why. So what you want and why you want it, and let the universe take over the rest. Just have fun with this exercise, okay? So now you're going to multiply the number of weekly hours you want to work by 52 weeks in a year. So again, if you want to work part-time hours, that'll get you 1040. So 1,040 hours a year that you would be working, for example, right? So have those numbers. Finally, when you have those numbers, divide the dream annual revenue goal by how many hours you will work in the full year. So let's say again, if you want part-time hours, that's 1040. And that will give you your hourly rate that you can now work towards with clarity, with understanding that if you don't start letting go of tasks that you can pay someone less than that hourly rate for, you will never get to that goal. So it's just a good reminder that's sitting there. It's the first step for you to start thinking about things differently. Doesn't mean you have to start outsourcing right now today. No. Let go of that pressure. It's a starting point. And for you to have that clarity is much more powerful than you think. Okay. Because you seeing that number will consistently be more integrated into your subconscious mind every single day when you're at your computer, and you will start thinking of ways of like, okay, how can I make that happen for myself? What's a small step? Right. And I want to make sure that you actually do this exercise. So please pause this episode and do this now. Feel free to rewind back a minute or two for me to re-explain the math if you still don't get it, which I know that sometimes if I listen to the math quickly on audio, I'm like, wait, what was the math again? I have to write it down. So yeah, rewind back, write down the math, pause this episode and do it now. If you're at your desk editing, pause it and do it. If you're walking, even pause it and do it on your phone. You can easily do it in your notes or pretend like you're sending yourself a text, use your calculator. And if right now you're like, whatever, I could do it in my head, or I'm not, or whatever, like if you could do it in your head, that's pretty cool while listening to me at the same time. It's pretty impressive. But if you're like, I don't need to do it. I get the point. I get the point. No, you need your number. You need to know what it is. Like, trust me, it's so impactful. And if you think you don't have enough time right now to pause to do the exercise for 3 minutes, then you really need to do this exercise so that you can take the first step to getting more of your time back, because that's never going to solve itself. If you don't do it, you don't change anything that you're doing, you're always going to be a hamster on the hamster wheel, always feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and not having enough time for anything, right? All right, so pause and do that. Okay, so now that you're back, well done for doing the exercise. Huge high five, props, all that. And this is because progress only happens through action. All right. Now, lastly, again, like I said, write down your dream hourly rate on a sticky note, stick it to your computer so you have that daily reminder. And feel free to DM me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah, no H, Monica with a K, photo, and share it with me for accountability. Oh my God, I would be so stoked if you message me and you're like, this is it. It's on sticky note. It's my hourly rate. I'll be so proud of you. I'll be so happy to interact with you and celebrate you for doing that. And yeah, you got this. I have more chat on outsourcing and what's possible for you in the weeks to come. So stay tuned. And it's funny, I say chat. I'm like, I've been watching too much UK Love Island because their lingo is so cool. Like, instead of girls, they say birds, or instead of like annoyed, they say bothered. Like, I'm so bothered. I'm like, oh, that is so cool. So naturally now I'm saying chat. I have more chat on outsourcing and what is possible for you in the weeks to come. But for now, give yourself a pat on the back for tuning in and learning something that is literally life-changing. And remember, if you apply it. So if you just kind of know it in the back of your head, you heard it, cool. But it's not going to change your life unless you apply it. And lastly, if you don't want to miss the doors to my Outsourcing Made Easy program opening later this year in the fall, and the doors only open once a year in the fall, annually. So only once a year, where I teach you literally the step-by-step of how to successfully outsource in your photography business so that you can stop being the overworked and underpaid photographer. And instead, you get to step into a reality of more time freedom, lifestyle freedom, financial freedom, mind freedom, and even creative freedom. Then make sure to get on the waitlist now. It's at sarahmonica.com/waitlist. That's Sarah, no H, Monica with a K, because I'm Polish. That's how we do, /waitlist. And for now, I'll leave you with this quote because I thought it was pretty fitting. And I literally heard it right before I was going to record this episode. So I'm like, wow, thank you, universe. It's probably meant to be in this episode. So this is by Mel Robbins. She says, most people aren't obsessed with their goals because they don't think they are worthy of them. It's easy to dream about what you want, but in between where you are and what you want, there is a tremendous amount of stuff you got to change and do. So I thought it was so fitting. So with that said, again, thank you so much for keeping me company here. Thanks for hanging out with me. And make sure to take the first step and get your ass on the wait list for Outsourcing Made Easy for more of all the freedoms. So you can do that at sarahmonica.com/waitlist. And I will see you in next week's episode with more chat on outsourcing. Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah no H, Monica with a K, photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.